superior to those of today even.
Okay, and those technologies, would you know if they were more tied in with
hello, and welcome to the stream. A little bit of art, Bell Dreamland.
That's good. In other words, were they in tune with the planet in some way that we were not, or presently are not, Michael?
Yes, even if you go back a little bit in recorded history to the times of the Greeks and the Romans and personalities like that, you'll find that many times they got their technology from higher beings. They didn't build factories on this planet to build them, but they would communicate with higher beings and receive technologies, more advanced technologies from them. So that kind of technology exchange has a long history on our planet, and may still be going on today for all we know.
Facts question for you, Michael. Do you think there's any indication that these extraterrestrial intelligences have guided or interfered with human history? Are you familiar with a book called The Gods of Eden by William Bradley?
That is a very common hypothesis. I think you'll also find it in Zachariah Sitchin and others.
Yes.
Where I might disagree with some of these accounts is that it's been going on much longer than they would suppose. In many cases, they tend to accept the standard idea of human evolution as it's printed in the textbooks, and then say at some fairly recent point in time you have some alien intervention that resulted in our human species as we know it today with our advanced civilization.
Could you give me a couple of examples of where you think they may have interfered, in effect, with human history?
Oh, if you look at the whole history of the human race, you'll see many accounts of divine interventions. Practically, the origin of every religion on this planet is attributed to some kind of intervention from some extraterrestrial source.
All right, well then, here's a hell of a question for you, Michael.
Okay.
If everything went to hell in a handbasket in Russia, which frankly is very unstable right now, with, as you know, at least 30,000 deliverable nuclear weapons, and somebody over there went out of their mind and did the unthinkable and launched their weapons against us. If there would ever be a moment for intervention, that would be it. Would you think the launch and the war would be successful? In other words, in ending the human race, or would there be intervention?
It's a very good question, Art.
Yes.
And I think this is something that comes up all of the time. I think there's something pretty much of a cosmic paranoia when we're confronted either with the type of event that you described or the fears of what different kinds of alien beings might do.
Michael, any
I would say this is where the cosmic hierarchy comes into being.
Right, well, let me add to it, Michael. Any species-threatening event, let's say that Ebola Zaire became airborne and it threatened to end the species. Same question, would there be intervention prior to a species-threatening event?
In the case of any particular event, I couldn't say, but in general, in the ultimate sense, the forces in the cosmic hierarchy are at the top, good, they're well-wishers to us, and in the end, in the final analysis, the powers of good that are watching over this whole hierarchy will prevail. And I think even now they are limiting the influence of elements in the hierarchy that may not be so benign. And I think this is something we can all take comfort in.
All right, Wildcard Line, you're on the air with Michael Cremo. Hi.
Hello, Art Bell. This is Roy from Everett, Washington.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask Michael if he's seen any evidence of Atlanteans in his work.
Atlantis. Yes, Michael. Your view on that?
Yes, of course, Atlantis is familiar to us from the ancient Greek writings as a sunken landmass that was previously inhabited by a race of people who have some advanced civilization. In the ancient Sanskrit writings with which I'm familiar, there are also descriptions of sunken land masses that were previously inhabited. I think there's been some very good underwater archaeology done in the area of Bimini and the Bahamas, and where there do appear to be stone structures found deep in the ocean. So yes, I would be prepared to find evidence for sunken land masses that were once inhabited.
All right, east of the Rockies, your turn with Michael Cremo. Good evening.
Hi, Art.
Hi, where are you, sir?
I'm in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Oshkosh. All right, welcome to the show.
My name's Renzo.
Yes.
How you doing?
Fine.
Well, Michael, I was wondering, well, actually, I think that people feel that Bigfoot is connected to aliens because he's so hard to find.
I was talking about that a little bit earlier. That's exactly what I suggested.
Yes, and well, I would give you my theory that if the UFOs or the extraterrestrials, Michael, are keeping track of all of us, they've got plenty of opportunity to do that with human beings, with cattle, with many of the things we hear about being abducted, but perhaps few opportunities to interface with Bigfoot because there are, I think arguably, very few Bigfoot creatures. So obviously anything connected to a UFO and a Bigfoot would be not a great surprise. There would be very few of them they could monitor. Wouldn't that be true?
They appear to be rare, although you do get sightings around the world in varieties of locations, and even on the east coast of the United States.
I'm sure you do, but I mean, how many have you seen?
I have not seen any myself.
Same deal with me. So at least they've got to be fairly rare.
Right.
All right, wildcard line, you're on the air with Michael Cremo. Hi.
Yeah, I'm calling from Kogo.
Yes, sir.
And, okay, Mr. Cremo,
Yes.
from what I understand, okay, you're saying that, extraterrestrials have been coming down and affecting the evolution of man or actually creating man?
Very, very good question. So it's a, as I was suggesting towards the beginning of the show, I think we are part of a cosmic hierarchy of beings, originally spiritual, and we've come down from an original position, original higher dimensional spiritual position, and we've been placed in a position in this hierarchy. And the way that we've gotten here is that we've been given bodies by beings higher up in the hierarchy by a process of reproduction. In other words, these beings higher up in the hierarchy, from descriptions you find in various ancient writings and also from evidence that we can see today, have bodies made of more subtle elements than we do.
All right, I'm trying to listen.
By a process of reproduction.
Yes, I'm trying to listen very, very carefully to what you're saying here, Michael. Are you saying that we were created by those beings? In most senses.
Well, our bodies have been, in other words, there's a process of reproduction that's going on.
If I could say one thing, the problem I have, okay, we have vestigial parts in our body, like a tailbone, an appendix. I mean, useless stuff to us as Homo sapiens. And another thing, too, if man's been around this long, why isn't there a fossil record of actual bodies back, 500 million years?
Well, but there is, according to Michael Cremo, right, Michael?
Oh, that's, we were talking about that human skeleton found in the coal mine in Macoupin County, Illinois. We got in touch with Illinois Geological Survey, and we asked them, well, how old is the coal in that mine? And over, 300 million years old. So we do have, skeletons going back that far. And as far as the similarities with other creatures, that might just be a good design process where you start with a template and then you simply modify it to get different creatures rather than building each one up from scratch. I think that's a very common thing in engineering and software, computer software. You don't try to invent the wheel every time, but you start with some template or model and vary it slightly. So you might expect to find, if you do have, say, as the age of Sanskrit writing, say, 400,000 types of human beings.
So we would simply then, in essence, be the Rembrandt work of some greater intelligence, some extraterrestrial intelligence. We would have been the final grand work to date of that intelligence, correct?
That may be giving too much credit. I'd say the higher...
Okay, Michael, I'm sorry, we're at a break point. We'll be right back. This is CBC. On May 13th, we're going on vacation. Going to Hong Kong, China, into Red China, if you'd like to come along on that side trip, then Bangkok, and then back home. The whole thing will last about 8 days. Unfortunately, it is now on a space available basis, which means you call the number I give you if there is any space left, or if they can find any, or if they have a cancellation, they will get you in. It's the name of the game. It's getting late. So if you'd like to come along, I'll be there. My wife will be there. Bob and Sue Crane will be there. A lot of people are going to be there. If you'd like to come along, call 1-800-633-2732. That number is good at, I think about 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific Coast time. 1-800-633-2732. My guest is Michael Primo. His book and his theory, The Hidden History of the Human Race, actually, he represents it really as more than that, because he says he has evidence of man being far, far older than anybody else can guess. And we'll get millions of years, or even hundreds of millions of years, or even billions of years, and we'll get back to him in just a moment. The human race has been around for over several million or billion years. Would it be out of the realm of possibility that we achieved advanced space travel before? And if so, why would we not leave the planet in time of disaster and later return to rebuild and bring that same technology? Therefore, we should be more advanced. Roger. In Sparks, Nevada. He's saying, why haven't we been back? In other words, if there was an earlier civilization that achieved space travel and went somewhere else, why have we not been back?
Well, I'd say to Roger, this has to do with the whole idea of cyclical time. As a matter of fact, from what we can see, and this appears being true geologically speaking, is that the Earth has in fact been through a series of devastations. We find it mentioned in many ancient writings, including the ancient Sanskrit writings of India. There are periodic devastations where advanced civilizations are wiped out, and then after that, there has to be a process, again, an extraterrestrial process of bringing the humans and civilization back to this planet again. And it just may be that right at the moment we're in a downswing in one of these vast cosmic time cycles where the level of civilization tends to be going down rather than up.
Well, let me sort of back that up, Michael. I do a daily talk show that deals with events going on a daily basis, politics, human behavior, and all the rest of it. And many times I have observed, and I feel many times. Now I realize my observation span is very short. We are all mortal, and we don't have a lot of time to look at the bigger picture. But a lot of times, Michael, it seems as though our social behavior is deteriorating, as though socially we are devolving, not evolving. Would you comment?
According to the ancient Sanskrit writings, we are in what is called the Kali Yuga, which is in the cycle of time, a period in which human behavior is predicted to evolve. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I've noticed some of the same things that you have in terms of these social trends over even short periods of time.
Well, I'm not sure that we have a long enough span to really make a valid observation. It's kind of shooting from the hip, but it does look that way at times, Michael, as though we are devolving. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Michael Primo. Hi.
Hi, this is Steve from Seattle.
Yes, Steve.
And I was just wondering if the human race was supposed to be around for millions of years, that wouldn't we be more advanced now than we are?
It's a very good point. And, Michael, to add to what he just said, why has most of the technological development come so quickly here in the last 50 years, let's say?
Okay, so, Steve, I think we have become conditioned to what I would call the linear progressive time sense.
Yes, of course.
Where we think that everything goes from the simple to the more complex without a break. In other words, if it was older, it must be simpler, and if it's newer, it's more advanced, and in the future, things are going to become more and more advanced. This idea of cyclical time that I was talking about may be a more accurate reflection of what's happened over the long term in human history. And as I was suggesting just a moment ago, we may be in a little bit of a downswing right at the moment. Now, as far as what you were mentioning,
well, socially, Michael, it seems like socially we may be in a downswing, but technologically we appear to be chugging right along, and that's a fairly recent development. The last 50 years, technologically, it's really taken off.
Well, one way to look at this is that previously, a lot of the things that we do now with machines were previously done directly by people. In other words, they had the ability to see things at a distance. Now, some people appear to have that even today as one of the extrasensory powers. We may be duplicating that now that people are no longer able to exercise these powers through their physical organisms. We may be trying to duplicate them through technology. And that may not be an improvement.
It seems as though the powers we have, for example, to precognition is a good example. I've had one example of it myself, Michael, an experience of precognition. I definitely knew an event was coming. There's no question about it. Only one in my whole life. I've talked to other people who have had similar events. Is this a talent once held, now only occasionally to rise to the surface, or is it a talent we are now developing for the future?
It appears to be, if you look at the broad sweep of human history, even as it's recorded in our history book, that these powers were apparently much more common in previous ages. And if you look towards the beings that are a little bit higher up in the cosmic hierarchy of human beings, they seem to have these powers to a degree that we can only imagine. So it would appear that now we are in a condition where these powers, which are natural on one level, have become weakened. But they could be developed again.
Okay, Wildcard Line, you're on the air with Michael Primo. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Roy in
Everett, Washington. Hi, Roy.
That's right. I'd like to ask Michael Primo if he believes that the mammals of the sea were brought from outer space.
All right. The mammals of the sea.
Well, I think all the living things on this planet have an extraterrestrial origin ultimately. And this is an idea that the ancient Greeks had as well. For example, we have Plato talking about forms, ideal forms of all creatures originally existing on some higher dimension and are projected somehow down to this dimension and given physical form.
Let me throw a little...
I think we've got to look off of this planet for the origin of all the species, whether we're talking about the mammals in the oceans or the ones walking around on the land, and I think there are all kinds of extraterrestrial contacts that have taken place.
Okay, let me throw a little monkey wrench maybe in all of this.
Okay.
Michael, how would you account for new species? Not only do some species, according to scientists, become extinct, but there are new species that appear on the planet. Now, are these carried down by our extraterrestrial friends, or are they just a product of nature and the evolution of mammals and all matter on this earth? In other words, how did these new species get here?
On the wider cosmic scale, from the information that I gathered from various sources, including the ancient writings of various countries, including the Sanskrit writings in India, is that there's a fixed number of species numbering in the millions on the universal level. And these may be imported to the Earth that we know on different time scales. In other words, somewhere, all of the species are always existing, but at any particular time and place, only some of them may be visible to us.
And true, what means do they arrive here?
Sometimes by extraterrestrial means, sometimes by, you might call it intradimensional means. It continues to a whole area. We may not even be able to penetrate all the regions of this Earth. That is something that we've heard down the history. For example, the Hopi Indians, they've come up from 4 different levels along the Earth. There's some subterranean regions there that normally human beings and animals can't penetrate. So there may be dimensions even to the Earth that we're not able to penetrate, and perhaps some of these creatures enter and leave the world of our experience from these nearby regions.
Dimensional portals.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right, east of the Rockies, you're on the air with Michael Primo. Hello.
Hi, my name is Nick.
Yes, Nick.
Rockton, Illinois.
Yes, Nick.
Well, Michael, I tend to disagree with you. I think it's obvious that evolution happened by itself. Look at dogs and cats and what's a hyena? You know what I'm saying? There's no animals, there's no plants. I would say that plants and animals evolved from one being that I would call God. And
we might have a disagreement if we see what the process is. If you're talking about, because I would agree with you that there's God at the top of the hierarchy, and there's a process of descent with modification by which, from one generation to another, all the creatures that we're familiar with on this earth, including ourselves, have been produced. You know, but that's not the kind of evolution that you'll find described in the Darwinian textbooks
or Darwinian or the Bible. So it argues with both. And I take it, caller, you're uncomfortable with that.
Well, I'm looking at the sex contract right now by Helen E. Fisher. Have you read that?
I haven't. If you could tell me about it, I'd like to hear it.
Well, it's very informative. I like it a lot. It's kind of feminist view of how evolution went, but it's about sex as it went and how we evolved. But basically, what I think is that if you look at chimpanzees and gorillas and orangutans, in the regions they are today, you see that the orangutans are near Asians, and the chimpanzees tend to be more like white people, and gorillas more like black people. And if you look at, say, Asians today, and Indians, American Indians, and then look at Eskimos.
Well, I've never heard it quite suggested that way. That's very interesting. How would you respond to that, Michael? That there appears to be that connection to some of the major racial variations on the Earth today.
Well, first of all, I don't accept that we have come from monkeys or orangutans or gorillas. The fossil evidence, the actual physical evidence that we document in our book, The Hidden History of Human Race, shows that simply we coexisted with these creatures for millions and millions of years. There's no physical evidence at all that we evolved from. So, right from the start, I would have to respectfully disagree with the hypothesis being presented.
I'm curious, Michael, see if you can answer this straight out.
Okay.
Do you find more fanatical resistance to your hypothetical, or I guess you could even suggest the evidence of the evolution of the human being? Do you find more exception to it from the scientific or religious community?
It's very interesting that I've been finding that I've been able to go all over the world, and I have been. I've been able to make these presentations I've been on Christian radio shows and television radio shows, and I find they're very receptive to the fact that I disagree with Darwin and evolution.
Okay, the question again, from which camp do you think you find more stringent objections, scientific or religious?
The most objection I have been finding is from those who are in the mainstream scientific establishment. That is where the most opposition that I have encountered has been coming from.
I would imagine that would be true because at least your theories involve a concept of creation that religious folks might be able to be more comfortable with than scientific people. I see. All right. First time caller line. You're on the air with Michael Primo. Hi.
Hi, this is Joe up in Reno.
Hi, Joe.
And it's a pleasure to call you, Art. I listen every now and then whenever I can. And I have a thought on this. We're electrochemical devices. We're perfect androids, biochemical computers, if you really look at us in a big picture.
Sure.
And the electro being the spirit, the android, the movement, the device that moves around is the chemical. Who knows where it goes in stores, maybe in the ozone layer or whatever, but you can see how things could be, spirits could be implanted or beings could come into us through something like that. It's a very tangible and logical way, and I wondered if Mr. Cremo had any experience in dealing with it in that logic.
All right, it may be the last answer we have time for. Go ahead, Michael.
Yes, Joe, I think you mentioned something that's very important. It seems like if we want a good metaphor for the entire universe and our place in it, it may be like a virtual reality system on a computer. Now, if you know how those operate, that means you take somebody who's outside the computer and you hook up different devices to their senses, like you put little, what they call iPhones over their eyes, small video monitors.
That's right.
And so that it creates the sense of being involved in the computer world even though they're outside of it. So, in one sense, you could say that the person is being implanted into the virtual reality system inside the computer. So I think you're mentioning soul, and I think what we really are is we are souls who have been implanted by some system into a virtual reality.
All right, that is where we're going to have to end it, Michael, very quickly because we're out of time. Where can they get your book?
The book is available by 800 number 1-800-443 3361. It's also available at Barnes & Noble and other book chains.
All right, Michael, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the program.
Art, it's been a pleasure for me as well. Hope we get to talk again sometime.
Thank you, my friend. That's Michael Primo and his version of the hidden history of the human race. Thank you all, and we'll see you again next Sunday at 7 Pacific time. From the high desert, good night, everybody. This has been Dreamland, a program dedicated to an examination of areas in the human experience not easily or neatly put in a box. Things seen at the edge of vision, awakening a part of the mind as yet not back. Yet things every bit as real as the air we breathe but don't see. Please join us again next week at this time for Dreamland. Welcome to Dreamland, a program dedicated to an examination of areas of the human experience not easily nor neatly put in a box. Things seen at the head vision, awakening a part of the mind as yet not mapped, and yet things every bit as real as the air breathed but don't see. This is Dreamland, Sunday evening, and indeed this is Dreamland. Good evening, everybody. I am Martel, and we've got, I think, a very interesting show this evening. As usual, Linda Howell, she tells me she's got quite a report for you this evening. Linda Howell, generally regarded across the world as the preeminent expert, I guess, in crop circles, animal mutilations, and their connection to UFOs. So we'll do that, and then we'll follow it with John Rhodes. John Rhodes has been investigating the human-reptilian connection. And aside from knowing some individuals that I might put in that class, or at least descended from that class, I don't know very much about the subject. He will also talk to us about underground bases a little bit. Now that would certainly make sense if you're talking about the reptilian connection, I guess. At any rate, we will explore all of that this evening, so I'm looking very much forward to it. And in just one moment, Linda Howe, Philadelphia, our expert on crop circles and animal mutilations, and she's been looking into it for years. She began doing regular journalistic type documentaries and moved from that into the area that she is now such an expert in, which in my mind has always added greatly to her credibility. Here is Linda Howe. Linda, hi.
Hi. Well, one of the mysteries long associated with the animal mutilation phenomenon has been the Bigfoot or Sasquatch creature.
We've never talked about it.
Well, I think it's time, because there has been a long history of association between these appearances of these large animals and other phenomena. In the 1970s, in Colorado, Montana, Washington State, Oregon, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, and other parts of the United States, ranchers and others reported seeing 8 to 12 foot tall, hairy, brownish red creatures that were breaking down pasture fences in areas where mutilated animals had been found. In one famous Cascade County, Montana case, a rancher was out hunting with his .30-06 rifle. He suddenly came face to face with a hairy, brownish red creature who towered above him. The rancher fired at this Sasquatch, and it disappeared in a bright flash of light, raising the question, was this creature strictly biological, or perhaps some kind of technological presentation like a holographic projection? That was the 1975 to 76 time period in Montana, and that rancher reported his Bigfoot encounter to the Cascade County Sheriff's Office in Great Falls, Montana, which is how I got that report.
Gee, Linda, you would think if it was a holographic presentation of some kind, that it wouldn't even be effective. You know, I mean, a bullet would pass through a presentation, wouldn't it?
Right. It's always been an interesting question. Why was there any reaction at all that would be translated in a flash of light from the firing of a bullet? is a very puzzling phenomenon, but it did make the sheriff's files because the rancher was so startled by what had happened, and he called the sheriff's office. And then a year later, in 1977, in the wilderness area of Snohomish, which is northwest of Seattle, Washington, Bigfoot investigator Peter Gutilla interviewed eyewitnesses who not only had seen large hairy creatures, but associated their presence with silver discs that they saw with their own eyes in the sky and animal mutilations that they were finding in the ground.
Linda Moulton, how I love you, baby.
Stephen Underwood was traumatized by his encounter with a silver disc in the sky that made a sound like a spinning turban, which he recorded on audio tape and gave to Peter Gutilla. Stephen Underwood also saw a giant ape-like creature associated with the UFO. And not far away in that Snohomish forest lived a woman with her family named Linda Williford. She and others saw Bigfoot creatures around their house, and she recorded a series of eerie, high-pitched screams during the 1978 to 79 period. Neither eyewitness has ever been willing to speak publicly, but they have given Peter Gutilla permission to share their experiences and their audio tape recordings. So tonight we will hear first Stephen Underwood's recording of the turban-sounding UFO, which reminds me of so many people's descriptions of hearing something that sounded like a turban, which is a different description from the people who have described the buzzing of bees. Then Peter Gutilla will introduce Linda Williford's recorded excerpts of the Bigfoot screams near her house. And I'm going to begin now with this turban-sounding UFO that will continue on with Peter Gutilla's description of going into the Snohomish forest a few years ago. Today we'll talk with Linda Williford and to get her audio tape, which we'll also hear. So right now, this was the sound of a silver disc that Stephen Underwood described as having what looked like a black lens right in the center of it. That's how close he was.
All right, actual recordings of the UFO.
There have been all sorts of UFO sightings in the area, and the really noise that was heard in the valley was heard right up to that time.
Steve Underwood recorded.
Right, Steve Underwood recorded it. His situation was interesting. He was alone, and all sorts of things were going on around him, and he had absolutely no support from anyone, although his neighbors reported it, including Williford. Linda Williford told me at once when I got there that her host would come to visit, and while they were driving out of there in the pitch of night, this loud whirring noise followed their car and scared the wind out of them.
When did they start hearing the Bigfoot or Sasquatch sounds, and did she see one of the animals in and around the time that she actually recorded one?
Oh yeah, the sounds actually started, I believe, in 1977. Mrs. Williford was fairly isolated there. Her husband worked nights, and she was left alone frequently. As a matter of fact, in the full recording, you can hear her frantically dialing telephone. And because she's trying to get connected to her neighbors across the valley to ask them if they heard anything, and just did not get a friendly voice. But her husband worked nights, and she was left alone there often. One night, she finally had it. The screen was right across the road from where she lived. She lived in a little mobile home there. It was a single-wide mobile home. And she threw the door open, and the standing creature was standing literally right across the door looking at her. And she described it as kind of an auburn color, very tall, very broad, typical Sasquatch, typical Bigfoot description.
Long hair?
Actually, yeah, as a matter of fact, it was. The long hair, somewhat long. I mean, we get reports of hair length anywhere from, as long to just a few inches.
Mm-hmm. And what about the face? Did she describe anything unusual about the face?
Yes, she did. This is what I found to be very interesting. The face was ape-like, so the eyes were almond-shaped, wide apart, and glowing red.
And they were glowing red.
Glowing red, so luminous, self-luminous. I'm not talking about reflectivity, but these were self-luminous, sort of a bioluminescence kind of thing, and this was very clear to her. She could see it clearly, saw the eyes glowing. They moved a little bit. She stunned her. She turned on the porch light. It was a fairly bright one there, and that one she got a pretty good look at the overall figure. Arms were long, almost to the knees. It had one arm up on a tree, I believe she told me, and it just stood there. There had been mutilations in the area. As a matter of fact, Wilford told me about one, and there had been down fencing. Things you mentioned all occurred there in that spot. So something definitely was going on. You could see it in the air. I mean, it literally rippled, you know.
And now I'm going to play these 1978 to 79 excerpts of this high-pitched, eerie scream that she and the neighbors associated with the presence of the Bigfoot. And it is difficult. You're going to hear a kind of constant understatic, which I think was the fact that she had a not very expensive tape recorder that she was trying to pick up these sounds, but you will hear this very high-pitched, very bizarre sort of screaming above the lower noise that I think is her tape recorder. And here we go now.
All right, maybe the sound of Bigfoot. Now that one gave me the willies.
Did that translate out pretty well?
Oh yes, that translated just fine. Whatever that was, Linda, I don't want to be anywhere near it.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was working on the first documentary I did, Strange Harvest, and was traveling with a crew in Wyoming, New Mexico, and Colorado back in 79 and 80. I interviewed a rancher who told me that he had 3, 4, maybe it was 6 mutilations in the same area in a ranch in eastern Colorado, and said that he had, with his own eyes, had seen a tall, huge, he said it must have been 8 to 9 foot tall, hairy creature come out of the woods and crash right through his fence. It was a wood kind of pole pipe fence. And he said it made a sound that he described as the combination between a woman screaming and a baby crying. And I've always remembered that description. Now, what we heard, I would say, was more of a high-pitched, you might compare it to some kind of a musical scream. I don't know, but I'm very curious if any of our Dreamland listeners anywhere in the country have ever heard anything like this recording or any description that they have associated and never told them.
Hey, if you're able to, can you rewind that thing a little bit?
Yeah,
rewind it.
We can play it again.
Give me a little more of that. That's what I call blood curdling.
Yeah, no, it is. I think it is too. Now,
It's one of those kinds of things that you know that if you met whatever was making that sound, you're going to die.
well, and that's the interesting thing is that Gutera actually encountered, and maybe one of these nights in Dreamland, I'll play that because it's a long story, how he actually came face to face in the dark with what he considered to be about a 12-foot long creature, and a high creature, and there seemed to be some kind of a force field that he could not walk through. It's a whole other story, but he's never felt harm, and the other people said they've not been harmed, but they've been associated with animal mutilations. It's very strange. Well, here we go again.
Okay, let me hear this one more time. Here we go. Okay. Well, I don't like that sound, Linda. I think that's terrible.
It's killing in the dark of a forest.
Well, it wouldn't have to kill you. You'd have a heart attack first, and it could just eat your dead body.
Yeah, well, I'm sure like you know if anybody else out there has something like that happen around their ranch or house or somewhere. And I think now is definitely we have an audience that is reporting things that they've encountered and maybe not talked about before. And Dreamland is certainly the program to share this on.
All right, I'm way short on time because we did that again. So give your address to everybody. We'll be playing your commercial here in a bit.
Okay, thanks, guys. It is Linda Howe at Post Office Box 538 in Huntingdon Valley, Pennsylvania. Zip code 19006. My fax number is 215-491-9842. And Art, I give this out again later in the program. And thanks, Art. See you next week on the air.
Thank you, Linda Howe. Well, I'll tell you, that was, maybe it just got to me, I don't know. But I didn't like that sound. We'll be right back. 03 now. I got a letter from John Rhodes, and I'll read to you in part what he said. Art, in recent years, I've been researching and lecturing about UFOs, underground bases, and occultist archaeology. I've also placed the emphasis in my research on the connection between the ancient and intelligent bipedal race of serpent beings called reptilians and human beings. These investigations have yielded numerous religious, cultural, and genetic links that provide extremely compelling evidence to the fact that we are genetic descendants of a highly technologically advanced race of alien reptilian beings living on our planet. Now, that ought to be tease enough for you, and I'll add a little something to that. I've received information from a number of guests that we are going to book in the future that also maintain that if not reptilian, certainly there has been a very advanced, and there is evidence of it, a very advanced civilization that has lived here on Earth previously. And that's always interesting since we're here now, and I assume we prefer not being relics of some future civilization's examination. So we'll get all into that in a moment.
You're hearing Dreamland on Bell. To participate in the program, toll free 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. Operators, area code 702-727-1222. Or the welfare line at 702-727-1295. This is the CBC Radio Network.
It is indeed, in one moment, the human-reptilian connection. And I think most of us would like to hope there is one. Many of you people who know about being health-conscious humans know about antioxidants. Some of you, I suppose, don't. Vitamin C is an antioxidant, and that is good. UCLA scientists found that antioxidant vitamin C can help avoid cancer, strokes, heart attacks, increase life expectancy, an average of 5 years. Now, there are some new antioxidants on the market. They are 20 times the power of vitamin C. They're called pycnophyllins. Now, you might ask in the first place, why do I care about antioxidants? Well, simple. You're getting bombarded with all kinds of bad stuff called free radicals. And actually, I would sum it up by saying they make you old. Stiff joints, premature wrinkles, degenerative disease like arthritis, circulatory disorders, diabetes, and heart disease. Antioxidants fight that. Something 20 times the power of vitamin C, well, I shouldn't have to say more. The brown spots on my hand are disappearing. Almost gone, actually. if you would like to try hypnogenals, call Natural Health, please, at 1-800-856-1119. That's 1-800-856-1119. And now, coming from not very far away, actually, Henderson, Nevada, here is John Rhodes. John, welcome to the program. It's good to have you.
It's good to have you too. And by the way, happy birthday. I got wind that it was your birthday on Saturday.
It was, indeed. Oh, it was a wonderful birthday, John.
Great.
Wonderful. John, I don't know where to start. Tell us a little, if you would, about yourself, I guess, first.
Okay.
Who is John Rhodes?
John Rhodes is a gentleman of about 34 years of age. When I was younger, I lived most of my life overseas. My parents were, one was a swimmer, my mother, and my father was a pilot that used to work for Air America, which was an old CIA officer.
That's right.
And I had the opportunity as a child to live a lot of different places overseas, including Vietnam when I was 6, 7, and 8. And over in the Middle East in Beirut, Lebanon. And then I came back to the United States here, of course, completed my education. And it wasn't until about 5 or 6 years ago I started getting interested in what was going on as far as the UFO field and unexplained phenomena, because I felt that there was just something that wasn't right as far as the reality in which we were living.
Well, you heard me say, I'm sure a little while ago, I've had a lot of guest information lately from people who have been studying for some time the possibility that a civilization existed here on Earth long before we ever did. And though there are artifacts, they are few, and most of the evidence of their existence has been erased. Does that fit in with what you believe?
That fits in. They've either purposely been erased, in my opinion, or else they've been erased due to natural geological changes, including being sunken into the earth underground. And I think most recently we started as human beings being aware of the actuality of these civilizations, not only by seeing things above the surface, such as the Great Pyramids and the unexplained pyramids of Mexico and Central America and South America, all the beautiful pieces of architecture left behind that really we sit here in awe with, even with today's engineering skills. But when we started, I think, getting into looking underground as far as geological exploration for oil and also subsurface use of space for storage for oil fields and gasoline and food, etc., that we started finding a lot of things underground that left even more of a mystery.
Again, I've got to stop you for a second, John. It's really interesting that you should be saying that, because there is a project ongoing now in Alaska called HARP.
Right.
I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yes, I have.
And it's supposedly got a dual purpose, and one is to heat up the ionosphere to see what will happen. I'm not sure about that one. And the other purpose, supposedly, is to try and map underground tunnels and caves. And I thought, underground tunnels and caves. Now, why are we wanting to look underground? What do we think is underground that we don't know about?
Apparently, there seems to be more underground than we're looking at than above our heads in space with the NASA program. I've read about HARP, and I've also looked into the shuttle bay experiments in which they were using ground probing radar. They said to help study the Rwandan hate because of the war in Rwanda.
Right.
And that just kind of hit me as kind of funny. And I think that because of today's technology, with the ability to burrow underground with thermonuclear boring machines that have been patented in the U.S. Patent Book by Los Alamos Laboratory, I know before you had a really great researcher on the air, Richard Sauter, and
That's right.
he's done a lot of studies on this, brought a lot of information forward to the public, declaring that the United States and other countries by now have very easily been able to penetrate the Earth with these thermonuclear boring machines that literally vitrify the rock, and what's left over is about 25% of mass. And since it's molten lava, they compress it towards the tunnel walls, and it permeates through the tunnel walls, creating a self-lined tunnel. This is great when you look back at a lot of the old stories of people in caves and caverns, even when you're talking about books like Edadorfa and other stories like Smoky God, in which people talk about the all words. These stories were coming out long before we were even aware of the technology about glass-lined tunnels, and that's exactly what the technology is available today, is to leave glass-lined tunnels behind. And these people were reporting way back on a century.
But these are tunnels, John, that we would have created, so we would therefore, for the most part, know they are there, certainly at high government levels. The implication of HARP is that we're looking for stuff that we don't know is there.
Right. Well, if it's very simple in terms, I mean, an engineering term, due to this technology to be able to burrow underground, then that leaves us a whole new issue. Not only would NORAD have to worry about missiles coming from overhead, from the north, and also be able to look out for any kind of missile attack from above. Now we've got a whole new issue about how do we prevent other countries or other species from burrowing under the ground into our continent, into North American countries, and coming near sensitive facilities or near sensitive government buildings.
God, there's an awful thought.
So, I mean...
you know, that you're right. I mean, it would have national security implications, and now I suddenly understand, even the alien question or the reptilian question aside, there would be national security reasons. Suddenly it dawned on me.
All the billions of dollars they had spent so far, now they've just figured out that they've only done 50% of their job. So there has to be this large launch into being able to see who and what is underground at what depth and who they are. If, as I believe, there are other alien species coexisting here on this planet with us, they want to make sure not that these species are telling them where they are, but they want to be able to make sure of being able to verify themselves exactly who is where. And also when you start looking at the fact that in 1988 they created a National Cave Resources Act, which prevents people from going into a cave.
That's right.
With a $10,000 fine and 1 year in prison for each entry.
That's right. It's supposedly to protect the natural resource of the caves, isn't that correct?
That is correct. There are some caves, absolutely, that have been defaced. But the majority of caves across the United States, most people don't want to go near a cave. You know, because there's a certain amount of superstition and a little bit of spookiness going into a dark, hollowed-out piece of the earth.
Sure, I'm one of them. I wouldn't do it.
I had to overcome that fear due to my own research and looking around.
Oh, now wait a minute. You mean you actually have made some trips?
Yes, I've been into cave systems and also into mines. And I can tell you one thing, that there is certainly... I had to do it because... Well, I'm afraid of climbing, I'm afraid of going into a cave, yet I had to confront my fears in order to fulfill my research that I'm doing.
Right.
And believe me, in some instances I've been shaking. I mean, I used to watch people climb a mountain and I think, these guys are crazy.
Yeah, I still think that.
You see, then I'm faced with the position of having to go out and learn how to do it myself. But, yes, there's been instances where I've gone into certain caves because I've heard that they are, one instance in particular was a reptilian outpost very near Las Vegas. As a matter of fact, Las Vegas has almost overrun it.
Oh really?
And when I went in there, a friend of mine told me that this cave had a steel door down a shaft. It was really an old mine. It had a steel door down a shaft after you went down a vertical pit. So I went in with my friend. In order to get in there, you had to crawl horizontally on your belly for about 20 feet before you could even stand up because the cave ceiling was right at your back. And then I went in there. I looked for the door. It wasn't there. And then I was feeling kind of odd. I scraped my knuckles and my fingernails into the walls because it looked kind of wet. And I could feel mud go under my fingernails. I saw like a scrape of mud. But when I retrieved backwards, I thought, well, I have to take a picture because this door isn't here, and I want to be able to show my friend who told me about this. And when I took the picture, I saw a streak of light come up. And I looked down at my hands after I turned my flashlight back on. I looked down at my hands, and there was no mud underneath my fingernails, nor was there any mud on my hands. And when I got the actual photograph developed, there was a streak of light going from the bottom left to the top right, with a huge wall of light underneath it, diffused onto the right-hand side. I have a feeling, and I'm not any technical expert in this area, and it's just my opinion, but I have a feeling that there was holographs at work there. And with the flash of the camera, it was trying to adjust for that instantaneous change of light level, and it couldn't quite do it. And this is one of the recent photographs I have of anomalous activities underground.
What, by the way, I would give my eye teeth to get hold of one of those photographs, John.
Oh, I'll send you a copy.
Oh, you will?
Oh, sure.
All right. You know, I'll tell you, John, I'm right in the middle of writing a book, and I'd be glad to give you credit. So if you want to include permission to publish it, I'll stick it in there.
I don't think there'll be a problem.
All right. Wonderful. I mean, I really love being able to get these photographs out, and
Absolutely.
I've got a bulletin board system, by the way, where we do that. We take special photographs like the one you're talking about and make them available, so I'll do that as well. Boy, that's fascinating. I don't know if I could have overcome my fear, and I sure don't know that I could crawl through a space just barely big enough for me to crawl through. I wouldn't like that at all. Earth above, Earth below, Earth to each side. There's something about that. It'll be very claustrophobic.
It is a little bit of something to overcome. But one thing is that I've realized through doing all the research that I have is that the old phrase from, I think, out of the Bible that says, as above, so below, really does encounter pretty much the question of the UFO phenomenon.
All right, what is it that you believe is down there, John?
Well, when I started thinking about the one question that really started narrowing me into my field of research which was primarily getting into the reptilian area, which is I started questioning as to why is it that the majority of contactees who meet the Nords and who meet these other wonderful beings in craft are told that they have some sort of a non-interference clause where they're not allowed to interfere with us. Yet at the same time, through that contact, there was interference, but not on the scale of which the grays, foot, 4.5 foot, standard gray, which is the alien with the large black eyes and thin extremities and large head. Why is it that they, along with less frequent but still reports of contact with them and the reptilian beings who have been reportedly been the ones giving them orders or commanding them? Why is it that these two particular species have repeatedly been talked about in the field? What gives them the right where others do not have the right to interfere with us, even when they're talking about doing the experiments with people on craft, as they do? And that started making me look more into our own historical perspective as to what is there left, what's really left of our own history that hasn't already been hidden or just naturally lost, that could explain to us the existence of these beings. Number one is, when you look at the gray, the oldest reference I can find to anything that's like a gray is that the Hopi Indians refer to these grays as ant people. And from our own visual perspective now, we can see why they would maybe refer to them as ant people. Say, for instance, what if this being came from underground, or you had knowledge that they lived underground? They had large eyes, as do ants, thin extremities, as do ants, large cranium, as do ants. And of course, now we can understand that they might have just said, well, this is an ant person,
Or it would be their easy reference, yes.
Exactly.
Sure.
And
you're right about the features. When you consider an ant, those similarities are quite striking. John, hold on just a second. We'll be right back to you. My guest is John Rhodes, and now I'm beginning to make a bit of the connection myself. How about you? I couldn't quite understand the human-reptilian connection, but I'm beginning to get there, I think. More.
First of all, I started noticing that I believe that they are a species that are off the original trunk, or the tree of life, the first genetic creation that took part on this planet. And this may or may not be so, but this is, from what I've been able to gather, this is my perspective. And we further genetic chains or genetic branches off that original trunk.
In a process, John, of evolution or creation or both? Or do you not?
I think it's both. I think originally it was divine creation, and then shortly after that, there was intervention of sorts. And what really clued me in on this is starting to look at the antiquity of the serpent and serpent worship around the world. There is no animal on earth that has been revered so highly and taken both ends of the spectrum, whether it's negative or positive, in the influence of man and its religion, than that of the serpent or the snake.
That's true.
You can also include in that category dragons, lizards, and any of the reptilian species, but primarily the serpent, the snake, and or the dragon.
John, are there not some religions, it strikes me back in the Appalachian Mountains, particularly Christian religions, serious thumper religions, where they use a snake as a demonstration of how they can overcome, and I hesitate to use the word evil. I don't know if evil is right, but overcome something or another, and they use them in religion.
Yeah, they dance with the snakes and they test them almost to bite them.
That's right, as though you cannot harm me.
Right, and
yeah.
through their own faith in God, they think that once they are bitten, they'll survive. In fact, many people, when they're bitten, do in fact swell up, because of the venom.
Right.
But yes, the serpent actually exemplifies the positive and negative religious implications. We look at, first of all, the Japanese and the Chinese revere the serpent or the snake and the dragon as being something very benevolent, while at the same time we're told through our own religion that the being who stood in the Garden of Eden, and remember it was the only reference in the Holy Bible that we could even talk to animals, was that of a reptilian. And this reptilian was smart enough to start teaching us. And when you look at the connection between the Sumerian text talking about Enlil or E having been a divine being from an extraterrestrial being who was involved with the genetic manipulation of man, and supposedly he lived in a place called Snake Marsh, and he was the one that had taken a branch of the mammalian man and mixed it with some of the reptilian beings. And the place where he lived, of course, was Snake Marsh, like I said, but you could think of a place where snakes live as a den. And then we come back to looking at the biblical explanation in Genesis, where they talk about the reptilian being in a place called Eden and giving man knowledge.
Eden.
Right, Eden. And these types of little pieces of information are all over the place. And it's just a matter of being able to make the connection. I believe that one reason that it's really interesting to note that amongst many of the religious cultures of the world, it's a common rule or law, religious law, that they are not allowed to draw or make anything of that which is in heaven.
All right, John, we've got to pause here at the top of the hour.
Okay.
We'll be back. Relax for a few moments. Eden, that's quite a jump, huh? A little emphasis, but big meaning. We'll be right back. As we can. Somebody who's an expert on underground, I've got a lot of questions, and I know that you've heard about this. I have a good friend, John, who built a porch here in Toronto, Nevada, on the side of the valley. He sank big beams into the ground in order to do this. After he built it, he had such a bad hump, John, that he could not sleep at night in his house. That's how bad it was. He ended up having to redo the whole thing in a different way. Something was being picked up and transmitted into his home from underground. What have you heard about this?
Well, I know that the underground hum that's been heard, like a house,
Yes.
is not limited to just the Taos area, but has actually been heard in different countries around the world as well. And it's been happening for longer than most people realize. My own idea of what it may be, we've heard theories about using ELF and loop antennas to be able to communicate, through the water and over the atmosphere with the submarines around the world.
That is correct.
I know that the Colorado Bureau of Mines patented a device that actually uses ELF to communicate through the rock. In other words, it doesn't need any cables or anything. It just uses the rock to carry the signal. And the lower the frequency, the greater the coverage area. And when you start talking about, all I perceive now as my reality is moving atoms and frequency. And all we really have to live by this time around in our life is this mass or different combinations of frequency combined together to create different objects of different light. And when you start talking about the Tao Tongue, you're talking about a frequency that's being put through the earth, but yet at the same time, there's a lot of natural crystal formations within the earth that could take certain branches of this frequency, and I guess you could say change it or mutate it, so we may have some sort of a sympathetic resonance with it. Around the meninges of the brain, which is the sheath covering the blood-brain barrier, we have a high quantity of what they call magnetite crystal. And what this is that Dr. Kirschman had started looking into this, thinking that there's higher concentrations of magnetite crystal. Now, magnetite, mind you, is a naturally forming magnet ore. It's like lodestone in the earth. We don't need it. Our body actually manufactures it. So when we have magnetite crystal surrounding our brain, that means that we as humans have everything necessary to make a transmitter or receiver, which is crystals, magnets, and energy and minerals. So if you're getting these different frequency fluctuations, I don't doubt whatsoever that we are somehow sympathetically resonating with those frequencies. As to what they could be, well, like we said before, perhaps they are some sort of a subsurface radar around these sensitive facilities looking for anything that may be coming near them.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Because a lot of these reports have actually come in from areas where previously people have said that there's some sort of anomalous activity happening with clandestine black book operations. So that's one possibility. The other is, of course, the communication. And the other one is, of course, and I've thought about it, and I don't know how true it could be, that the people who are hearing them have implants. And somehow these implants are being triggered. So these people are being able to hear sound. They're not quite hearing it, but they're sensing it all over. Now, I've heard sounds like that have continued for a period of 2 or 3 weeks, like a clicking, but then that clicking stopped. I've also found out that other people associated with the group have heard the same sound at the same time, and it all stopped at the same time.
All right, this is from Sean in Yucca Valley. Then I'm going to give out the numbers and we're going to answer some phones. All right. I have often heard it claimed there is only a 2% difference between humans and chimpanzees' genetic material. This seems to argue against any human-reptilian melding. Would you please ask John to comment on the point? In other words, as we look at genetic connection, I think that the factor is correct. There's a very close relationship to chimpanzees,
Oh, absolutely.
but genetically not so close to reptilians.
Well, like I said, the connection is definitely there to reptilians. I'm not saying the primary connection or the most evidentiary one is, or the most dominant connection. I do believe, like the caller had called in or faxed in, that yes, there is a high degree of connection with regular mammals, like the primitive ape. However, it appears to be that the most dormant form of a connection that we have, coming from the archaic part of the brain, is that of a reptilian. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, the monkey or the reptile? So, when you're talking about, I guess you could say, Paul McLean says that he's been able to excise like laboratory rats parts of their brain, or laboratory animals parts of their R complex. And what he's realized is that R complex dominates our behavior patterns as far as hierarchy, territoriality, ritualism, and aggressive behavior. And this is how he was able to find it out. So when we're talking about, like, who are we, it makes more sense to me that there's some sort of an important connection there with the reptilians, because I haven't heard too many stories of abductions by monkeys.
That's a good point.
Where I have heard the abductions by reptilians.
All right, John, let me quickly give out the numbers and we'll take some calls. Fascinating topic. First-time caller line, area code 702-727-1222. The wild card line, several of those available. Area code 702-727-1295. West of the Rockies, it's 1-800-618-8255. East of the Rockies, it's 1-800-825-5033. Just one other quick thing, John, and we'll pick up some calls. The natural magnetic material that you say surrounds our brain.
Right.
Wouldn't that, they're doing a lot of studies now about electromagnetic fields and how they affect us. And when I say that, I mean even radio, television, and microwave transmission. Would this be, do you see a connection, in other words? If we are receptors, then it seems to me that sort of energy might be received and or might be affecting us.
Right. Well, there's so many forms of energy that we're aware of, but I believe that there are so many forms of more subtle energies that we're not aware of. And I think we catch the full spectrum. Yeah, I think it's very unhealthy with around power lines. As a matter of fact, they say that when people go into caves or cave systems or underground, there's a natural insulation that's provided for them, so they're no longer walking on the surface as just regular human antennas.
That would be true.
You just have to stick up a good antenna. You can figure out that, my God, there's thousands of frequencies shooting straight through us all the time. Thousands.
Yes, well, they're also doing a lot of work on intense magnetic fields, and I hate to admit this, I'm a ham operator.
Right.
And I've been doing so since I've been about 12 years old, so I've been getting exposed to close-in, large electromagnetic fields RF all my life. And frankly, so I'm sorry to have to report it, but they've done a lot of reports indicating that amateur radio operators and people exposed to a lot of RF do tend to have a higher cancer rate. So there may be something to all this.
But then again, just because of you, I know that the mind is so much more powerful than we've ever been allowed to previously see that it is or believe that it is.
Well, thanks for the comfort, John. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with John Rutherford.
Hi.
Where are you?
I'm calling from Oklahoma City.
Okay.
I've been listening to your show, and I just commented on the latter part of your show thinking, one of the things I had a question when you talked about reptilians is I have a large amount of paperwork and work that's been gathered in the past 10 years from a friend of mine who believes he's an alien, a part alien. And she's given me her work, and it has hundreds of drawings, which is right. And I'd like to know who I can get in touch with.
Well, cryptic writings, aliens, doesn't seem to relate to some sort of reptilian connection.
Some degree, there's some parts of it that does.
It does.
I've read and bought a particular book on cryptic writings from the past century, trying to decipher some of the information.
All right. Listen on the air. John, it's a good opportunity. If somebody like that or anybody else wants to get hold of you, or maybe have you written a book, John?
Well, no, the book's in the works. I've just made a speech. We'll get into a little bit more if you want.
All right, then let me try this avenue. If they want to get hold of you and get you information.
Okay, this is what you do. First of all, if it's something that you're really frightened of somebody interfering or intercepting, the way to do this is to take it and fully register it and heavily insure it. This way, if it's ever missing the mail accidentally, then you stand to make a little bit of money.
Sure.
Okay, now, I have so many things missing through the mail. This is the only way I really, truly get things where I want to go. I figure if they're going to end up missing, I might as well make a little living. Now, I'm going to give you I'll give you an address. And the address is John Road, R-H-O-D-E-N. And it's Post Office Box 50381. Henderson, that's Henderson, Nevada, 89016-0381. And I also have a voicemail system set up.
Do it again, though.
It's John Road,
Right.
Post Office Box 50381. Henderson, Nevada, 89016-0381. And I have a voicemail also, which if you don't mind, in case anybody needs to or would like to receive a package of information regarding this research and other related research, if they do a money order or check for $10 and send it to me, I'll get them all a comprehensive package. And if you like, go ahead and send us that address. My voicemail, in case you want to notify me of anything or need some further information on the address again, is area code 702-391-3335. And it's go to 391-3335. And one other thing I have available in case people are interested in is I've done some psychoacoustic and work with sound. And I've been able to create a subliminal self-hypnosis tape for abductees. And the reason I did this is because so many people are feeling like they've somehow been touched, and they don't have the money to spend $90 an hour to go to a psychiatrist to get hypnosis. So I've used some very ancient metaphysical tones that correspond with the chakra, and I've got together with a very famous hypnosis physicist out here in Las Vegas by the name of Helen Bauer. And we designed this self-hypnosis tape that teaches people how to get themselves into self-hypnotic state, as well as empower them through their experiences instead of allowing them to sit in the victimization role. And recall some of these events if they so choose.
All right, if it's not,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if it's not $90 an hour, how much is it?
It's $10, and once you buy it, I just welcome you until I otherwise tell you to go ahead and copy it, and please hand it out to your friends. Because part of my job here, not only am I spoken for a group of people who have spent their lives working on subjects such as this, but my job here right now is to help people and empower people. And that's one of the reasons I also sometimes, when I go out and give lectures, I'll spend an extra day, take a handful of people, and teach them to investigate for themselves. Because we all need to put at least a little bit of work into it. And the more people who put work into it, and forward the information to someone like myself, like a physics voice, then the more ability we have to be able to get a clearer perception of what's going on.
All right, glad you got all that out, and we'll be back to John Rhodes in just one more. Here's something missing. In other words, this prisoner, instead of the normal, has seen a human who has small holes on the side of the head, near the top of the ear, and in slightly toward the temple. I have exactly what I describe on both sides of my head, and have yet to see this on any other human being. If your guest has no such experience, can you refer me to somebody you might know? Barbara in Santa Barbara. No, I certainly can't, John. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
I hesitate to answer simply because it hits so close to home. Last year, our 5-year-old girl had recently awoken one morning and was worrying about her ears and scratching it. And I looked inside, and just on the inside of the ear, but still within the actual outside fleshy piece, against the temple, was a perfectly circular cord out hole. Now, if that itself would not be so remarkable if it weren't for the fact that when I looked in the opposite here, 180 degrees around, on her other side of her head, was another perfectly cylindrical hole, right exact same location. So, yes, I haven't heard very many other people talk about it, but it's really strange that your caller should happen to ask that question. I mean, that's really odd.